Hey guys, what's up? It's Tyler Kluver. This is the Snapped Podcast. So glad that you're joining me. On this podcast, we're going to talk about diet, exercise, mindset, training, sports, performance, and any of the things that we discuss, me or the guests that I bring on, is going to help you get better and help you get healthier in some way or another. We're glad you're here. Sit back, relax. Let's have it. We're back. We are back, everybody, for the Snapped Podcast. I do so many freaking podcasts. I almost introed this as the roster series podcast that I do as an exclusive for the Wash Up Walk-Ons. Welcome in. An early drink from my water bottle because I'm healthy. I get my hydration. It's been a fantastic day. It's been a fantastic week so far. Short week. Did a little bit of work on Monday, but took it off mostly as a holiday. July 4th, America, freedom, right? This is a great country, and it's maybe been in better spots, but it's still better than what most countries are. Want to no real topic today. It's going to be more of a personal update on competition / training for the half marathon. I haven't checked in a couple weeks for that, and going to give an update as well as kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what is upcoming for me this weekend. Something I've never done before. So first off, I just want to continue to thank you guys for listening. I hit a lot of topics on this podcast, and sometimes, especially in the beginning, with the ice cream stuff and the whole proving a point, and then several of the once every 5 podcasts or so, we run into one of these where I kind of update training, because that is what this is. Not only am I going to talk about objective topics, but I'm going to be subjective as well, and sort of take you guys through what's going on in my life, what's going on in my training, what my goals are, competitions that I'm going to be doing, stuff like that. So that's one of those today. But I thank you guys so much for listening. We have a squad of over 100 people that listen to this podcast, and it's just me on a microphone talking about like nutrition and health stuff. And several of you have even reached out from the podcast and been like, holy smokes, this one hit home. I want to continue to work with you, or I want to continue to explore that concept. So, this is a podcast where I thought, I honestly was hoping like 25 people would listen to it. And right now we're sitting at like quadruple that. And I want to continue to grow that. And obviously, a lot of that is based on how good I am at podcasting, how good I am at getting not coughing would be good in the middle of the podcast, but getting content across in an entertaining and informative way that is still time efficient and worth you guys listening to, right? In the 15 to 20 minute format. So if you guys have anybody who who might enjoy, and it's not even like, hey, you should subscribe to this podcast, but if you guys know someone who's struggling with sleep, or someone who's struggling with hydration, or wants to learn a bit about more, oh my gosh, a bit more about calorie balance, or this, that, the other, some of the stuff that I've talked about, you found one of my podcasts specifically to be motivating, to get you up off the couch, send it to your friends, share it, because that's how this thing will grow. And I don't advertise this one much. I keep meaning to tweet out about all the podcasts we've done this year for this specific Snapped feature, but I just haven't. So yeah, man, I just really appreciate you guys. Anyway, today we're going to get into shortly an update on where am I at in my half marathon program. All right. I think it's funny because I last year ran a race for the first time, right? So graduated college in 2017, the winter of, and uh, then that spring trained for pro day. And so we are just past, it was May of 2018 when I moved out of Iowa City and wrapped up my athletic career at Iowa. So we're just over 3 years since that point. That initial summer, uh, I had knee surgery that fall, and so I didn't really do much competitively for an entire year till about 2019, right? And that's when I posted the transformation photo that kind of goes along with this whole fitness journey. But then 2019 was more of a year of building back into it, right? Start lifting again. I was still figuring out what I was doing for work and for a job. Um, didn't have time, at least in my mental capacity, to really go and try and focus on something that was new competition wise, right? And I didn't crave it yet, to be quite honest, either. Um, I was not even 2 years or a year and a half removed from the Pinstripe Bowl, my last game, and it was nice to take a break from competitive athletics and not have to worry about performing, right? I think there was a performance fatigue to an extent with long snapping and playing for Iowa. One that I could have extended for as long as I needed to had I been paid to do it, but because that was gone, I was just enjoying not having something to compete for. And just, work of course the weight loss came with that and intermittent fasting and all that stuff. But then it started to itch, right? And if you're a competitive person, that's just the way it's going to be. And so then, come around last year, 2020 hits. And even though COVID was present a thing, I was ready to, and in fact, actually, that's not true because in 2019, uh, me and a couple buddies did run an obstacle course race that was about a 7 mile long, 30 obstacle race that took us like an hour and a half. So that was fun. And that kind of um, satisfied the small hunger for it. And then 2020 rolled around, COVID hit, everything, but it was time to go. It was time to, you know, to some extent, my availability to competition and putting everything I can into training for something, and just having youth on my side, that clock is ticking, right? Eventually, I'm going to have a family. It's going to be a lot harder to train for stuff. And when I do train for stuff, it's going to be harder to put the full effort in or the max, reach your max potential if you didn't have a family and kids to worry about, right? Um, and while I'm not old by any means, I'll turn 27 this year. And, you know, I think probably the athletic peak, and it varies sport to sport, but I think probably the athletic peak for a male is somewhere around 30. For some sports, it's before that. And so, I only have 3 years before you start to see that decline of where it really starts to get harder, right? It starts to become much harder to recover, much harder to put on massive amounts of like tons of muscle. Just, it's not hard, but it's harder than when you're in your prime 24 to 30 years old, right? Maybe 24 to 32, 22 to 32, right? Physically. Um, and so I want to get going, right? And then I ran that half marathon. I parlayed that into a full marathon, which I was completely unprepared for. And now I'm doing the half marathon again and getting into CrossFit. Well, all that to say, last year when I prepared for that half marathon, I started running 9 weeks out. I had an 8-week program that I put together myself, that was very rudimentary or maybe elementary, maybe both play there, but it was basically just distances and a total weekly mileage. But the intention of each run was essentially just, hey, today's how long I'm running, go run it as fast as I can. And that was what every single run was about. I did no backed off training. I did no days where it was just, hey, this is a recovery. It was a very not smart program intention wise. Distance wise, it was fine. I just needed more detail to each day. Well, not only do I have that now this year with the Nike half prep, but I started running 5 weeks prior to when I did before. So right now, Wednesday, 7/7 of 2021, we are just under 8 weeks out. This last year would have been my first week of actual training. I did a couple like 1 or 2 mile jogs in the ninth week out, and then in week 8 out from the race is when I started actually like, "Hey, here's I got 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Thursday, 4 miles on Saturday," or whatever, right? And now this year, even though I currently feel, um, still about as prepared as I did last year, I'm 5 weeks ahead of that. In fact, on Saturday, my long run is already up to 8 miles, right? I ran 8. 9.5 is what I'm supposed to run on Saturday. We're gonna get to that in a second. But I'm so much more prepared this year, and I'm doing almost a twice as long training program. There's intention to the runs, there's interval runs, um, there's runs where you're just supposed to stay in a recovery pace. There's a lot of directed focus, and I'm super excited about it. So again, we're 7.5 weeks out. To this morning was a speed run, um, where we went from mile pace to 5K pace to 10K pace, and the intervals extended. They were longer, and then came back down the mountain with a 5K pace and then a mile pace. And I felt really good. I hit all my paces that are in line with the pace that I want to run on game day, which is a sub 1 hour and 40-minute half marathon. Um, and I hit the paces that I'm supposed to as far as what lines up with that kind of time. And so I'm feeling good 7.5 weeks out. I'm nervous and I'm anxious and I'm excited to see where I'm at in 7 weeks. I know that this program is built to get you there. Obviously, if I went out today, I could not run a sub 1 hour, 40-minute marathon, half marathon, but I think in 7.5 weeks I will be there and I feel confident. Um, and I felt really good this morning. And it was 70 degrees. It was humid, but it actually started to kind of sprinkle and rain at the end of it. So it was a wet run, but man, I felt good and I felt powerful. Um, that being said, this week, like I mentioned, is supposed to be a 9.5 mile run. That's my long day on Saturday. And I don't know if that's actually going to happen. And here's why. As you know, the main goal here is CrossFit. I want to be as good as I can at CrossFit for the next 2 to 3 years. Oh, and here I am yawning because I respect you guys. I would edit that out, but I want you guys to get the real me, so that's respect. I want to be as good as I can at CrossFit for the next 2 to 3 years. What that entails is more than just me working out in my garage. I can do a lot in the garage. I have 75, 80% plus of the equipment, the weights that I need uh, to get to the level that I want to get to in CrossFit. I myself, programming wise and um, effort wise, I have enough to get myself about 70 or 80% of the way there. But when you are trying to be the best at something, you cannot just rely. Most people, you find very, very, very few examples in the history of sports. You cannot just rely on yourself to program workouts, right? Like I am not enough. I need someone else. I need competition. I need to work out with people that push me. I need to work out. I need to do workouts that other people program and tell me to do, so that I'm not just always doing what I feel like doing or what I like doing or what I'm good at. Um, and I need to go and put myself in competitive environments so that I know what level I need to be I need to be at. It kind of brings you back to center like, hey, this is the tempo. This is the intensity. And then when I come back to the gym, the home gym, then I know I am I meeting that requirement or am I not? And this weekend is going to be one of those competitive environments. The CrossFit gym that I used to work at, the Brave One Gym in Clive, Iowa, ran by James Townsend, um, is James is going to be hosting a competitive CrossFit camp, 4 day long camp. Um, each day consists of 3 workouts, and a lifting session, 3 workout sessions and a lifting session, um, 4 hours on tomorrow, Thursday, 4 hours on Friday, 5 hours on Saturday, and then 3 hours on Sunday. So it's more working out than I'll have ever done in a 4-day span. I'll have hit 12 or so Metcons, metabolic conditioning pieces, 3 lifting sessions. So for most people, it'll be 15 workouts in 4 days, which is more than most people do. Um, I'm anxious to see if my body is ready for it. I think I'll be pretty beat down come about Saturday. Um, but there's a lot of good people in the CrossFit community that are going to show up from all over the place. James has friends in the CrossFit space from Atlanta, California, um, Carolina, Texas, the East Coast, some from around the the Midwest here, and then Mallory O'Brien, who's just look her up. She's the best 17-year-old CrossFitter in the world. And she is arguably maybe a top 5 CrossFitter, regardless of age, in the world for females. She'll be going to the games in less than a month, and she's unbelievable. And she has a bunch of girls her age that are competitive from across the country. I think 4 or 5 of them are going to be flying in, so it's going to be a very, very competitive environment for me. There's going to be a lot of workouts where I get left behind and absolutely dusted, but I'm extremely excited to go and push myself, learn new things. Um, really, for me, it'll be a lot of shaping up my form and my the way that I move. Just because it's good to have other eyes on you and kind of give you critiques and uh, mold you back into correct movement, proper movement. And after this weekend, I will be absolutely decimated. But it's very exciting, and it's the next step in me being competitive is going and testing myself over a weekend like this against top end competitors in the sport. So I'm really excited to report back on that, tell you guys all about the workouts that we do and kind of the mindset stuff that we go through. Because I think a lot of the mental game stuff from CrossFit and just training in general, day in, day out, doing 3-4 hour long sessions um, like that, I'm very excited. Some of you are into that extreme stuff as well that listen to this extreme endurance events or just being extremely active, 1, 2, 3+ hours a day. So I'm excited to kind of even talk about how my nutrition was during the day and how I approach that. There's a lot that goes into a weekend like this. So um, long-winded kind of just personal podcast today, but that's what I have going on this weekend starting tomorrow. Very excited about it. The half marathon program. Oh, all the, that was all coming to a head of I'm probably not going to be running 9.5 miles, which would take me about an hour and a half on Saturday because I'm already going to be working out for 5 hours that day. So we might back off on that. But the half training is going really, really well, and I'm excited to keep you guys updated on that as well. As I said in the beginning of the podcast, thank you so much for continuing to listen. And if you think that this podcast could help anybody out there become more mentally tough, physically tough, learn stuff about nutrition, training, all of that, just let them know. Pass it on. I appreciate it so much. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I will update you guys on everything that happened this week at the CrossFit thing next time. Peace.